Hey everyone, Greg here. As you may know by now, I'm the co-founder and CEO of TripShock, an online reseller for water sports and tours. For the past 12 years, we've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of operators across the country, and we're looking to grow our community. It's free to sign up, and you only pay when we bring you confirmed bookings. We'll help you reach new customers, fill empty seats, and grow your business like so many have done with us over the years. Head over to partners.tripshock.com to learn more about our program, read testimonials, or speak directly with our supply team. As always, thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
They come to relax, enjoy the beach, have fun, and spend money. And that's where we come in. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. Find out tips on the best ways to market and operate a water sports business. If you're a water sports operator, you need to grow your brand, operate more safely, upgrade your operations, and of course, increase bookings. We're industry veterans, broadcasting from Destin, Florida. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast, and this is Kevin O'Neill and Greg Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Awkward Watersports Guy podcast. Today we're going to be interviewing Chris Woodruff from Paddles by the Sea and Vero Beach Tackle. He is trying to figure out that next phase. Kevin, what did you think about today's interview?
I loved it. I thought Chris had a great uplifting story. I think we touched on some things that as business owners and marketers, we get lost in the numbers and in the data. You know, we forget that there's a unique human element to what it is that we do, not just sharing our story, but actually caring about other people's stories. And Chris really highlighted that by doing so, was able to elevate his business and scale his business in a way that most in our industry can work a lifetime for and never achieve. So I don't think it was dumb luck. I think it was hard work, determination, and his attitude.
Yeah, he's humble. He'll say his situation is lucky. What do you say, Kevin? You say something about luck. You have a quote.
Yeah, luck is what happens when hard work meets determination.
Exactly. The narrative could never be better than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's jump into the interview.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, great. We're here with Chris Woodruff with Paddles by the Sea in Vero Beach, Florida. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, as you know, we like to start off the show giving our listeners a little bit of information about who you are, how you got into water sports, and a little bit about your business.
Yeah, thanks. I'd always kind of wanted to own my own business. I'd actually thought it would have been a pizza place back in the day. But I started paddleboarding, and I kind of realized that I liked teaching my friends it. So I started teaching and giving guided tours on the weekends while I was working a normal no-fun job. And through Meetup Group, actually. I didn't even have a website. And I did that for a year while working 60, 70 hours a week in a car dealership. I realized after that year that it did really well. Then I quit my job and I rented a slip in a marina and put a floating dock there. And I started renting paddleboards and kayaks, doing guided tours. And that kind of snowballed. A couple of local hotels saw what I was doing and started partnering with me. They asked me to come on and take care of their beach activities. So our third year in, we started doing beach cabanas and paddleboards and kayaks at the local beach. And the next year, the hotel next door did the same thing. And they said, hey, we really like what you're doing. We're already sending people to you at your river locations. So I started doing chairs and umbrellas at that one, as well as paddleboards and kayaks. So suddenly we're in 3 locations. And then that fourth year, I got the option to buy the marina and a tackle store that we were already renting a slip from. So it just kind of grew way faster than I ever would have thought it was. Really glad I quit my job now.
The topic of today's show, Chris, is expanding your business. And obviously you are in the process of branding crisis because you have your business Paddles by the Sea. You purchased this marina, Vero Beach Tackle. Now you are wanting to grow and you're trying to figure out how that looks. Walk us through kind of a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the original paddleboard company was called Paddles by the Sea, which makes sense at the time when I was doing it. You knew what it was. But now that I've bought Vero Tackle, I've changed it to Vero Tackle and Water Sports, but it doesn't really show what we do. We do boat rentals now, paddleboard and kayak, fishing charters, sightseeing boat tours, as well as all the other beach activities. Vero Tackle doesn't really make sense, even though we do have a retail tackle store also, and it's all in the same location. So it's kind of this weird connection.
First world problems, buddy.
I know, right?
So tell me this, Chris. What's your main acquisition channel? Like, where do how do your customers find you?
Direct or through the hotels. I've always really been big on SEO. I do a lot of the SEO myself, and it's kind of a passion project. We don't have any OTAs we work with. Luckily, our town's kind of small, and the OTAs we haven't gotten on their radar yet. So that's been kind of cool. So it's all direct or through the hotel reference.
So you don't run ads?
Oh, we do. Yeah. Google ads and Facebook ads.
Google ads and Facebook ads. So have you like moved any of your retail online?
I have not. No.
Have you considered that?
I have. I started looking at it at the beginning of the pandemic, and it turned into be a bigger project to do it correctly and to do it right. So I've kind of sidelined it for right now.
Yeah, because it almost seemed like to me, so bait and tackle is like a hard, when you think about water sports and charter fishing, like we sort of occupy the same space, but it's like two wildly different things. So like you see a lot in water sports where surf shops and water sports converge, because those two things like sort of make sense. And I knew a guy that actually started like a clothing brand, to merge those two worlds. And he had a very similar situation as they were, because in a pre-show, you do a little bit of you're in the OTA game a little bit locally, right? You do charters for, you do OTA for fishing charters there, right?
Yeah, we have 6 captains that are pretty much contracted to only work with us, and we take a cut of their trip for booking it through the tackle shop. And they get to pick up guests in the marina, kind of that first-class service. All the other competitors would have to pick up at a park nearby. So we're the only one that has a marina.
And they do and those captains only use you?
Yeah. If a couple of them have their own website, but if they get it even through their website, they still run it through the shop.
Look at you little Bocoon, you.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, what stops you from creating a brand? And you told me that Vero Beach is not really found by the OTAs yet. What stops you from creating a brand in Vero Beach? And when I say an OTA brand, such as like VeroBeachTours.com, putting all of your stuff underneath it, because just from what you explained, you have a water sport business, you have a kind of like a hybrid OTA between the marina and the other tours you book. I guarantee you probably have 30 different activities that you could sell, or 30 different experiences. Has it ever crossed your mind of something that you can do, something bigger than just Vero Beach Tackle or Paddles by the Sea, but actually creating more of a travel brand in Vero Beach that's selling tours and activities?
I'm glad you asked that. I actually really am. I just bought the domain Best Part of Vero after the last Arrival conference. So what I'm working on now is putting together the packages to offer multi-day trips. So if you're staying at the hotel, we can do snorkeling, chairs, fishing trip, and then I want to start partnering it with local restaurants too. So maybe we pick them up at a hotel, take them fishing, take them to lunch afterwards, maybe a cabana on the beach after that. So I figure we can do about 6 or 7 days worth of stuff like that.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of tour operators become hybrid OTAs because they're very good at marketing. I'll take Kevin. Kevin's a perfect example. He's a very good marketer. He's a very good business owner, and he sees opportunity in the local market. And that's kind of how TripShock started. There's a couple guys in Hilton Head that started an OTA, Just Book It USA, and they did the same thing. They were experts in their market and saw that there was a need for someone to consolidate more experience and discover more experiences. So that's just a great way, I think, also to expand your own business, but expand your brand and help with some of that brand identity. And it can be even in addition to what you're doing. I mean, you can have your Vero Beach Tackle, Paddles by the Sea, and then this entity altogether.
Yeah. So if I can ask you, Chris, why do you feel the need to bring you feel the need to bring the bait and tackle under the umbrella of your water sports company?
Mostly just because they're all in the same place. But that's what I'm doing right now for marketing is I'm separating them. So if it's paddle sports or beach activities, it goes under the Paddles by the Sea umbrella. But boat rental, fishing, we're adding jet ski tours as soon as they become available, the jet skis. And now those are running under the tackle shop. So that's really where you check in. That's like our main hub. Is that's where you go to either book or check in for your activity or your adventure.
I mean, and it's like, I don't know, like what I hear is that's like, so the Paddles by the Sea, it's almost like you have to rebrand at this point and start from scratch, and that's like obviously like a tough proposition. But now that you're sort of getting all these things, you're getting into charters, you're getting into boat rentals, you're becoming like a full-scale water sports company. You're not just Paddles by the Sea anymore. So it's a great problem to have. And it sounds like you have like a pretty good lock on the market. Like nobody else is really doing what you guys are doing, right? There's not a ton of water sports in Vero.
There is a lot of water sport operators, but they all have to go to a park next door. So if they do rentals or anything like that, it's kind of an awkward exchange. Nobody's there when they come back and things like that. So they're often just leaving kayaks in the bushes waiting for the operator to come pick them up, stuff like that.
I'm sorry, did you say they're doing like cowboy style, like at like a boat ramp or something?
Yeah. So fishing charters, paddleboard, and kayak. We even have a boat rental operator launching at a public launch on appointment. Yeah. So that's it though. We're the only one. The city marina and then us is the only access to water.
And then Destiny Water Adventure's second location.
Right.
What? I'm like over here salivating. You're like, yeah, it's like why I came to Destin in the first place. It's like I looked out, I was like, there's like no digital marketing here. I'm like, I'm gonna come here and do that. But so it sounds to me like obviously you have like a super great problem. You're into SEO. Nobody really has that. Nobody has a lock on what you do. So why not just rebrand everything under one, let's, for lack of a better term, you're a super creative guy, so you're not going to call it this, but like Vero Beach Watersports, like why not just attack the entire market? You like do a redirect from Paddles by the Sea. And when people search your name, they'll get your new domain, they'll get your new company, and this is your check-in.
Yeah. That's really what I'm leaning towards now. The only problem is like Paddles has such good branding, and the tackle store, I bought it. I'm the third owner of the tackle store. It started in 1978 as Vero Tackle. So that's a hard one the history, and it's been really cool. But it is just one of those choices for the company. I think I do need to just bite the bullet and make it happen.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, like it all comes down to acquisition, right? Like for your returning customers, it's not like your phone number's changing. Technically, your website's not changing, because if they Google Paddles by the Sea, they're going to get, I'm just going to call it Vero Beach Watersports, whatever, yeah. Chris's Watersports. If they right, whatever, they're still going to find you. If they just walk up, they're still gonna find you. If that same great service, that great name, all that stuff that's been there since '78 is still there physically. However they were finding it before, they're still gonna probably find it. More than likely, they're gonna like Google it or try and book a reservation or whatever it is. And so obviously, I don't need to tell you, but you take all those channels and then you just fire them back at your new brand. And you rebrand, man, and move forward with a great new product. And
I think I agree with Kevin. You have to mobilize under one brand, and I think you're moving in a really good direction. But I would say the existing Vero Beach Tackle probably has some SEO prominence. It's been around for a while. It has a name. Also, Paddles by the Sea. It does. You said it has some branding, has a name. You probably have a Google My Business listing that gets a lot of traffic and has reviews. But here's an idea, and that's something maybe you consider, is having your one brand. I like that direction, but all the other brands like Vero Beach and Tackle could be a co-branded model where your website Paddles by the Sea could be Paddles by the Sea by Vero Beach Watersports. Utilize that existing domain traffic, and you can do something called like a sunset, where you change the name. Kind of like when TripAdvisor acquired Viator, they had Viator by TripAdvisor. the whole idea was to swallow Viator into TripAdvisor. Well, that never happened, and they reversed course. But I see a lot of companies do that when they acquire, and eventually, it might be something where you spend less and less time until it's not getting enough traffic, and you just move it into your new one, or you just continue to keep it as that brand. But there's a lot of options for you. But if you're getting a lot of traffic and it's a great acquisition channel and it's free, yeah, you want to keep that as long as you can.
And your GMB, just to make a note, if you change, like, you can reach out to Google and you could change if you're still doing the same product at the same address and with a different name, you can change your GMB. What I would if you had to do that, because obviously that GMB is super valuable, what I would recommend you get if you were to do this, get your signage in your permanent signage in your photos, like do a blog post on your GMB, and then either wait before the next Google update, or keep an eye out, because that's a problem, is when you do go to make that move, if you don't have everything set in place, like Google has been known, like, wipe out listings and then bring them back when they don't understand something that's happened, without making like very, very clear intentions, because those little Google cars that drive by, Google really wants to see hard signage. They want to know that those are actual real businesses. So if that's something you were to do, just keep in mind that those are ducks you have to get into a row before making those moves.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Chris, does your model at your marina, you have some stuff that you offer direct, then you have some stuff you book, but where do you see your future? Do you see it to be like a 50-50 split, between booking other businesses and doing your product, or is it moving towards doing more of your own stuff?
Definitely more towards my own stuff. And that's actually a funny thing it's not really funny, but it's something I glossed over. The boat rental company I don't actually own. It's Florida Boat Rental. And part of their contract to be able to stay in the marina is they give us 20% of all their bookings, and we staff it for them. And they also rent the slip that they're in. So I don't actually own that. I don't have to do any repairs, but I do have to take the boat to the mechanic for them. So eventually I would like to acquire that company, or just get my own boats and start doing a rental. But the paddleboard and kayak I own, the jet skis that are on their way I own, and the tour boat I own. And I'd like to own it all. And right now, too, even in the marina, we rent slips to guests that want to do long-term rentals. And I'd like to get away from that also, to make it all just activities. Is
there money in that? Just the leasing to overnight boaters or passerbys?
Really. The trick is that there tends to be a lot more damage if they don't own it. So they don't tie up right, storm comes, and it's in their lease to fix it, but a lot of the times it's hard to collect. And there tends to be more issues with that kind of thing. It's like having a tenant that doesn't really care about it, and it's not their primary home. And so there's a little bit of it. Actually, it pays for our rent. But it's
man, you gotta be like the Cinderella, like, unicorn of water sports, dude. Like, it's amazing, because it's something that almost every single water sports entrepreneur, business owner has to deal with, is renting slips from somebody else, man. Like the pile of, like, literal gold that you were sitting on, man. It just, to not answer to a landlord, man, that is like the dream come true, man. And the equity that's in that is it's incalculable. Yeah. Because people can't even get like a 5-year contract. You know how many water sport companies are on like literal month to month? Like, even a 12-month contract or 12-month lease is rare, man. Like, here in Neston, you got to have like $1 bazillion and would be like somebody's cousin or something to get waterfront and like a submerged land lease. It's just, man, that's amazing, dude. Congratulations.
Hey, Chris, you're a young guy too, and I've never met anyone that wasn't under 70 that owns a marina. It's just unheard of. And I think you're on the right track of moving more towards owning more share of the slips and doing your own thing. I mean, I got to be careful what I say, but I just, if I was in your shoes, and I can tell you are a very hands-on type guy, and you're very engaged in the industry, you're hearing what's working, you have just so much more room. Like, if there's an opportunity, you can move on that. But if you have a year lease with somebody, and I'll tell you, like, I look at a lot of marinas and I cringe. When I started my company, And there was 2 other jet ski operators, and they were not even doing a third of the volume we were doing. And having to watch them with their 3-year lease in there that they're never going to really make it, I would just wanted to take it over. It's just because it was frustrating. They weren't maximizing that space, and they weren't making the marina any better. And you probably have some great tenants, so I'm not going to, get in there, but I know that there's opportunity to make this marina a lot better. And sometimes some tenants aren't as passionate about that. It's a job to them, or it's a part-time thing.
Yeah, that's what I run into. That's why I set up the boat rental the way it was, because I was okay letting them run it until I was ready to take over on my own boats. But the guy that was working there was just horrendous, and he was rude to guests and had this tip jar he would slam down on the contracts all the time, and the whole process was horrible. Basically, that's what. And luckily, when I took over the marina, they had no lease at all. So it's like, hey, dude, this is what's going to happen. Like, either you stay and we take over this, or you don't, and we figure out something else. But it's got to be. That's the problem I really do is the marina.
I hope our owner's not on a podcast somewhere right now going like, yeah, man, I can't wait to put my own boats in there. I'm like,
I just wanted it to look good, though, because if you're doing a good job, if he was doing a great job, it would have never come up. Like, because it looked bad on me and my future plans that, like, this guy's a jerk. Like, I don't want people to think of my marina that way, that, that in long term, they're not going to come back. So I had to think of my long-term reputation. And I know you guys don't, you're looking out for the whole business in the long term. So.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, it's like, I see there's benefits to both, like the one benefit, if you were to get like, say like another tenant in, to get that 20%, man, and not have, how many boats is it, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
No, it's okay. It's 5 boats.
Yeah, but to get that 20% of those 5 boats and not be like, ugh, you know what I mean? The boat broke down, come rescue me. Or, like, oh man, I got to put a new engine on this. Or there's like, you want to keep this stuff nice. And I know everywhere is not this market, and our market's insane. Like, I mean, I have 2020 that got dropped in the water in March, and those engines are over 600 hours on them right now.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And I mean, that's a great thing. You know what I mean? So, you have a little bit more of a boutique rather than the volume that we do here. So I think it's probably, in your best interest, but there always is that idea of like, oh man, what if I could just get I could just get the white meat and then never, ever, ever have to worry about the headache of like having to deal with, and 5 boats is manageable. And if they're all yours and they're not going out like the insane amount of hours like that we're putting on, then you're not going to have those type of nightmares. And if you have a good manager, on hand, then or just anybody that you can trust to take care of your boats when you go to make that move and take over the boat rental section of things. Then I mean, that's I think either way, like you're in the shade, man. Like it's just I listen to what you got going on, man, and I'm just like I am green with envy, my friend. I am green.
It was a lot of luck.
Yeah. No, man, no way. You're in the tourpreneur group, and you stay active and you stay engaged and you stay about your business, man, and about your brand. I don't think we'd have you on the show if that wasn't the case.
Can you give a 2-minute story on how you got that marina? Because I'm just curious, knowing, because it's hard. It's hard to get a piece of property like that.
Yeah. So, and I say luck, but I always think too that luck is a residue of hard work. So I was the only person in the marina that the boat rental guy, like I said, the boat rental guy was a jerk that ran it before. I was there doing paddleboards and kayaks only, and I was there owner operator most of the time. So I'm out there cleaning the dock, fixing the gate, maintaining it. And we're at that restaurant that actually turns into a nightclub at night, and it's chaos. The good thing is there's a lot of traffic, but I'm there all the time tying up boats that aren't mine, helping the marina owner quite a bit. And he was an absentee owner. He was a firefighter that recently retired, and he'd actually gotten an offer from a local, very wealthy person, and it was kind of a slap in the face, and he was actually really offended. But it made him realize that he kind of did want to sell it. He didn't want to deal with it, but he definitely wasn't going to sell it to somebody like that. So he saw me, and I just happened to ask him one day, I was like, hey, if you ever think about selling this, I'd be interested. And actually, I should say too, I don't actually own it. It's a 13-year lease that we have. It was a 14-year lease that we have 13 years left on. But I do know the landowner very well, and I have no problems. I'd be surprised if we don't get it for the next rotation. But he's just fine as like, I'm going to retire. My kids are all going to college. I don't want to do this anymore. You're here every day. You know the ins and outs. You know where all the problems are. If you can buy it for this amount, this is what I feel is fair, I'll sell it to you. So I went to my local bank, and they knew the property. They were actually his banker, and they approved it on the spot. Said, we know the property. We know his banks. Let's close this deal before he changes his mind on this price. So we closed within 30 days on buying his business. So it's just kind of right place, right time, but already putting in work ahead of time and owning things that weren't really mine, but just doing the right thing.
So Chris, I was gonna ask you. So you run ads. Are you just running ads and doing SEO for paddles?
No, so I run the paddles page myself. I built that page and I run the SEO on it. But I'm actually paying ad group WebFX to run Vero Tackle, which they're doing a good job on the SEO, but the layout, they don't do design, and that's when I'm not really happy with Vero Tackle at the moment. So it's due for a redesign and a new flow.
But you're doing the marketing for the boat rentals too, that you're taking 20% of, correct?
No, I don't do anything for them. I just do Vero Tackle, the fishing charter. The fishing charters is my main one because I got to feed those guides, and I make 20% on that. So I feel like the OTA part of me for that, I gotta really get fishing charters in there.
Yeah.
And then paddle sports and the beach stuff I do ads for too.
Like, then you're doing the stuff for Vero Bait and Tackle too then, right? But you're not running ads for Vero Bait and Tackle, are you?
I am, yep.
And that feeds into the guides though.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Again, man, like we're like, oh, branding crisis. So yeah, no, because there's so many things that are like happening there that are, and we never want to try to explain too much in marketing, right? Don't want to confuse the customer.
I do hyper focus ads. Like there's a paddleboard one, a fishing one, a bait and tackle one, tour boat thing. I really focus in on each one because if not, it would just be chaos. I also do a things to do campaign because obviously if they land on our page and they're looking for something to do, odds are I got something for them.
My next question was, and it's something I always love to talk to people about, but besides Facebook and Google, obviously, like what are you, is there any other acquisition channels that you're excited about or that you use and that you like and that bring back ROI?
No, I used to be really big on Meetup. And for whatever reason, this county that we're in now, it's just because I started off going from Indian River County to Palm Beach County was my main zone. And that was amazing. But in this county, there's just no market for it. So I think it's a great one for most metropolitan areas or busy areas. But for us, it just doesn't work, which I wish it did.
You have a really unique opportunity at this marina because when people go fishing, they could be customers for paddle tours or boat rentals. I mean, what are you doing to, remarket to people that go on tours to bring them back to the marina? Do you have any secret sauce to that, or are you just hoping that they walk through and see, the different things you offer and hope that they re-up for something else?
I wish I could say I did more. We really should be, but at the moment we're not. Yeah. It's a big missed opportunity. We're talking about it, and the infamous rack card pile of all the stuff next to each other. It's in the shop, but short of that, no. I wish I was. I need to be.
So why do you run your paddle boards and your beach chairs back through Paddle by the Sea?
Mostly because
the click through.
Yeah, just because the branding, I want to run that traffic back to it. We actually have an opportunity. We might be taking over another hotel soon, so we might be up to 3 hotels. But this one is likely going to pay us to be there, where these other ones we just get to market and sell to their guests. Just the branding really fits for that kind of stuff. And I'd like to drive that traffic specifically over to it. But that being said, Vero Tackle actually ranks really well for that industry too. So I end up taking up a lot of Google real estate that way.
And then I want to unpack that a little bit. So did you do any testing to see if you had a drop in conversions? Did you ever route it straight to Fair Harbor? Did you ever run your paddles and your beach cabanas, what I mean is straight to your Fair Harbor offering landing page, basically, instead of routing it through?
Yeah, we actually had less conversions. And I don't know if that's pandemic or the way it's flowed, because they all kind of happen at the same time. But yeah, we've been getting a lot more online bookings where they don't even call or do anything or email. They just book and show up.
So, but So my next question is how are you measuring your data when you're taking them through so many different channels? So if they come to you, and are you measuring that through Vero Tackle and Watersports? Because I'm assuming you're running ads for Vero Tackle and Watersports. Do you feel like something's getting lost in the ramble a little bit there? Because if you're running an ad for paddle and then you're running an ad for Vero Tackle and Watersports, but they're passing through, let's say, the ad on Vero Tackle Watersports over to Paddles by the Sea and then back to Fair Harbor, are you feel like you're getting accurate conversion data?
Yeah, because what I do is each campaign is linked. So my paddles campaigns go directly to the paddle site, and then they can book on that page. So they don't really overflow unless you happen to click an ad for, say, fishing charters, and then got to that Vero Tackle site and then flowed through to go paddleboarding. It does happen, and I can see that analytic through Google Analytics. I can see that crossover, which does happen a bit, but no, the ads are pretty hyper-focused to each proper landing page. And a lot of times I'll have a paddleboard ad will land on the paddleboard page only, so there's not a ton of click-through. They generally just book right there.
Oh, yeah, man. All right. Yeah. No, definitely. Again, I just wanted to ask that question, and because if any other operators that are listening to this are like, oh, yeah, like we talk about these steps to get to the final product, and, we've had some issues with that, getting that conversion data through Fair Harbor. So anyway, that's why I wanted to ask about that. But so one last question, something we always want to know, like, just for entertainment value, not everybody geeks out with marketing as hard as the three of us. You have any awkward moments that you want to share, like good customer engagements, bad customer? I always like the bad horrific stories. Those are always most interesting to me.
I'm going to give you a good customer one, but it's good. I think you're going to enjoy it. This was year one. I'm doing paddleboard lessons, and I'm at a park getting ready to do a paddleboard lesson in a tour, and I see this couple show up, and they start unpacking an inflatable board, and they realize they don't have all the stuff they need, and they see me there, and I kind of just go over and talk to them like, hey guys, you guys gonna go paddleboarding? You look like you're struggling. And they were, and so it turns out they were just gonna pack up and go home, and I had 2 extra boards, so I brought them into the group, gave them a lesson, took them on a 2-hour tour. And at the end, I didn't charge them. And I sent them photos and all this other stuff, just like they were normal paying guests. And I just felt bad for them, and I wanted them to enjoy paddleboarding, and I wanted them to continue doing it. 3 months later, I get an email from the guy with a packet, and it's a logo. And it turns out the guy is the director of a marketing company down in Boca Raton. And it's my Paddles by the Sea logo. He says, I really appreciate you doing this. My employees from my marketing company gave me those paddleboards. I was really bummed they didn't work, but you made it worth it. We're now huge fans of paddleboarding. Here's your free logo and your whole branding packet. Have a nice day.
Wow.
And that's how I got the Paddles logo, the new one, because it looks professional. It's way more than what it was at the time. I was a guy in a trailer working out of parks. So it was pretty cool. That really helped a lot.
Well, yeah, that story is awesome. And I was just going to say that in our business, we give a lot of free stuff away. I can't tell you how many extra hours and free rentals that I used to give with, my company, and even, with Trip Shock. We comp a lot of stuff for people if, they're good customers, or we feel bad about, like, a lot of times we get people who got canceled last minute, or they booked a boat and they overbooked, and now this is like their kids, last vacation before they go to college and whatever, like we try to accommodate and do what we can, even if we have to take out of our own commission or even lose on something, because, we're not in this business to get rich, and that's a fact.
Yeah. Well, that's not gonna happen.
We do it because we gotta have fun. Yeah.
Chris, man, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, and I love that. I love that finisher, man, of that idea of paying it forward, man, because I think a lot of us can get very, very, jilted in this industry and dealing with a high volume of people, and people turn into emails, and I think that's a really, really important lesson for every listener out there, even down to the kid that's bringing them out to their boat, or bringing them out onto their kayak if they're just like free renting it, or not even giving a lesson, but here you go, like making sure that you have to remember like what we're doing it for, and it's for smile and showing people a good time, especially in such turbulent times. So even though I really wanted to hear blood and guts because I think it's hilarious. It's a better uplifting message, man. And the world probably needs a lot more of that, man. I want to thank you for coming on and for sharing your story, man. It's a great one, and it sounds like you deserve every bit of success that you get, man.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Real quick, can you tell everyone your website, and if they want to get in touch with you, have any questions about episode content?
Yeah, absolutely. The websites are paddlesbythesea.com and verowatersports.com. And the best email to reach me is chris@paddlesbythesea.com.
Great. And if you're in Vero Beach, stop by and say hi to Chris.
Yeah, let's go get on the water and have some fun.
All right. Hey, Chris, thanks again for coming on the show with us. We really enjoyed it. You're probably going to talk with Kevin and I much more in the future. We really look forward to that. Thanks for listening in, and stay awkward.
You've been listening to the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. If you're in the water sport industry, this is the podcast that brings the business perspective to parasailing, jet and ski boat rentals, sailing, snorkeling, and everything else. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Be sure to sign up to our email list at watersportpodcast.com and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.